Welcome everybody to Bleeding Green Nation. I'm your host Jordan Ranaan here, and finally football season has arrived. Well, not really this season, but at least training camp. So that alone gets the juices flowing. We're feeling good. We're going to go over the 5 top training camp storylines that I'm going to be watching here as the Eagles go through Lehigh. Number 1, I'm going to be watching DeMeco Ryans at middle linebacker. Single biggest move of the Eagles offseason in my opinion. 27-year-old, soon to be 28, middle linebacker filling a void that the Eagles have had for years, really since Jeremiah Trotter, his first time around, maybe the second time. But the Eagles traded for Ryans from the Texans in the offseason, gave up a 4th rounder pick, and they exchanged 3rd rounders as well. The two teams, not a heavy price to pay. This is a guy who's a 2-time Pro Bowler, who's a Defensive Rookie of the Year. He won in 2006. Signed a $48 million extension 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, the Texans thought he was still a stud. Last year, played in the 3-4. Thought of more of as a 4-3 type of middle linebacker. Now he's back in the 4-3 with the Eagles. Better system for him. The big question, what we're going to be looking at though, is his Achilles. Is he better? 2 years ago he ruptured his Achilles. Last year he came back, was a little slow. This year, it's thought that he's going to be 100%, but we'll be watching that at Lehigh. The Eagles sure hope so. Another thing that we're really going to keep an eye on is the 2010 Eagles top draft picks. That's Brandon Graham, Nate Allen. Both of them had their rookie seasons derailed by injury. Their second seasons, let's call it a wash, weren't the same. Their second seasons. Sophomore season, very tough for both of them. Graham, the 13th overall pick. Obviously, Jason Pierre-Paul went after him. We know that story well. Pierre-Paul's a star. Graham, admittedly, he's a bust. Said he's a bust so far. So what did he do in the offseason? Dropped 20 pounds, got down to 260, got in good shape. We'll see how that fares for him in training camp. Will that actually pay a benefit? Will he be able to hold up with that under that weight at that position? We will see. As for Allen, we'll see if he can get back to being the top line pass defender that he looked like he was going to be the first half of his rookie year. Eagles really need that with their secondary, so we're going to keep an eye on Nate Allen. Now, Brandon Graham falls into my 3rd training camp storyline as well, because the Eagles have major defensive end battles going on. Now, of course, not the starters. They have 2 Pro Bowlers with Jason Babin, Trent Cole. Those guys, they're penciled in, they're locked in. But behind them, 4 solid candidates. They have Graham, 1st round pick, who's the 1st round pick in 2010. Vinny Curry, 2nd round pick this year. Philip Hunt, former CFL star, showed some flashes last year in his first year with the Eagles. And Darryl Tapp, guy who's making $2+ million and was a former starter in this league. So who will get in the rotation behind Babin and Cole? That is the big question. Graham obviously going to have every chance, but Tapp, Curry, Hunt, they're also in the mix. Should be an interesting battle. Another thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on is the Eagles' offensive insurance. And what do I mean by that? Who is going to be Michael Vick's backup? Who is going to be LeSean McCoy's backup? Who is going to step in if either of those guys gets injured? Now, we know Vick, injury-prone quarterback, has trouble staying healthy. Is Mike Kafka the answer behind him? Not so sure. We saw some last year of Mike Kafka. Pretty unimpressive for the most part. Not sure if he's capable, physically at least, to be that guy that you could throw in for 2-3 game stretches at a time. If the Eagles really thought he was a good quarterback of their future, they wouldn't have drafted Nick Foles in this year's draft. Foles is out of Arizona. Interesting to see what he can do. If he lights it up, you never know. He could be Michael Vick's backup this year. Trent Edwards, more of a journeyman. He's in the mix as well. Not sure to expect much from him, but will be interesting to see. As for running back, the backup running back behind LeSean McCoy, Dion Lewis, second-year guy, he's the front runner. But behind him, two very intriguing candidates. We have Bryce Brown, a guy who barely played in college, and Chris Polk, who played at Washington. Much more successful college career, comes with some questions though. Injury and attitude. Which of those two guys can step up or will step up? We'll see. Dion Lewis, is he capable of being a backup, a guy who can get 20 carries in a game if they need it, if something happens to McCoy? Wasn't overwhelmingly impressive last year. Maybe he could turn it around in this training camp. Our final training camp storyline, Michael Vick. It always comes back to the quarterback, especially when it comes to Michael Vick. He progressed in 2010. His first year as a starter with the Eagles, pretty much. Best year of his career. Last year, took a step backwards. 19 total touchdowns, 18 turnovers. Can't win like that. Says he's going to change. Said a lot of things. Also said thinks the Eagles could be a dynasty. So now, time for him to back it up. Can he do it? Can he finally, at age 32, tone it back just a little bit, do it prudently, slide, get out of bounds, get down, do the things that people have been calling for him to do for years now? Can he do it now at 32 years of age? We'll get a little peek of that at training camp. Not too much, because that'll be something that will not be answered completely until the regular season, but we'll get an idea now. It'll be fun to watch during training camp. That's all for this training camp episode, but don't forget, we want to hear, what are you watching in training camp? What do you want to see the Eagles do at Lehigh? And don't forget, subscribe to SB Nation's NFL channel for more camp videos, and at our main channel at youtube.com/SB Nation. I'm Jordan Ranaan for Bleeding Green Nation. See you next time.